Zeta's dash medium has had its travel speed and distance increased. This is what it looked like before. Pretty noble difference. I think this is going to be joining the cast of characters who had great low poke dash medium attacks now. Her jump heavy attack had its forward range increased along with its forward hitbox. As you can see, some of the spear is able to reach Gran, but he doesn't get put into block stun or hit stun. And here's its new range. It's able to reach a few times, even after being pushed back a couple of times from the push block on it. So overall, it's a nice buff for her that she's going to appreciate, but nothing too crazy. To nerf her Okizeme on jump-ins, they've changed her jump U in a couple of ways. The rebound has been increased on the first hit of jump U, and the follow-up timing is now faster for it. The initial jump height on the second and third hits have also been reduced. But in return for this, they have a couple of combo changes. First, let's go ahead and look at this on block. This is what the movement would behave like in the corner before. You could basically get a good high-low mix-up off of this one using the second hit of it before. This is what it looks like now. As you can see, she jumps up a little bit higher after the JUs. This does mean that there's probably timings where you can now fuzzy defend against the high and the low more successfully than before, but I think it's still going to be something where she can use this as a tool. It's just not going to be as oppressive as it was before. However, where things really come into play for nerfing this option comes to the fact that the second and third hits will now cause a juggle state on grounded hits. Before, the enemy would always stay grounded throughout these, meaning that she could go for these overheads and then convert into a combo.
Great.
Now if you get these hits, the opponent is launched. As you can see, after the second JU, it's kind of hard to get anything going. With the third hit of JU, you're able to get a combo started, but what this effectively means is that while you can still use this for a high-low mix-up, the overhead reward is significantly reduced because the opponent is launched, and now all of your hits are immediately starting to generate combo limit. The third hit of jumping U, though, does have increased mid-air hit stun, going up from 18 frames to 26 frames. In addition to that, the lateral knockback has been reduced when the launch height has been increased. So Zeta does have access to a couple new combos in mid-screen because of this.
Great.
I can show you a higher level example here. This tech comes courtesy of TNS's own G-Tech on Twitter, showcasing a new Zeta route that you can do. There's some pretty cool stuff here that Zeta gets. Even though she's going to be missing out on having better high-low mix-ups on jump-ins, I think the air conversion is going to be something that she'll appreciate, especially considering that in this patch, the ultimate skill nerfs are going to be something that directly affects her. To compensate for this loss in her Okizeme with jumping U, her forward and backward throw have had the recovery reduced, changing the frame advantage from plus 40 to plus 48.
Great.
The increased opportunity for Zeta to get some better Okizeme here is going to be appreciated. Namely, this is going to give her safe jumps against reversals that she didn't have it against before.
Great.
As you can see here, an ultimate skill DP from Gran is actually able to catch Zeta after her throw in the old patch. But in the new patch, with the extra 8 frames of knockdown,
Great.
she gets a safe jump on it. Her medium fireball, Infinite Wonders, has a couple of buffs. On hit on a grounded opponent, it now causes a juggle state, and you also get a wall bounce. The lateral knockback and launch height has also been increased as well. She'll appreciate this as a non-EX launcher in the corner to get some combos extended. Additionally, with the new changes to her 236M, you do get some nice corner combos in case you don't have your usual anti-airs on deck.
Excellent.
Seeing her have some beam loops is actually kind of sick. Additionally, if you charge the move, you get more damage. Its base damage is 900. But if you charge for more than 10 frames, you get 1100. If you charge for more than 20 frames, you get 1300 damage. Compare that to all the previous behaviors. As you can see, the opponent stayed grounded and you were barely +1. making it worthless in the corner, where at this range, you're actually -3 in this situation and give up your turn. Beyond that, it also means if she's able to hit this raw on you in neutral, she'll be able to close some ground and gain advantage on the opponent. Before, you really didn't get too much of an opportunity. Whereas now, if she hits this, she can get a little closer to the corner. With this, there's a meaningful choice between her light and medium fireballs. The light one is going to be faster overall and allow her to poke at the enemy. Whereas the medium version will be a little slower, but it can lead to potential more rewards. If you're close enough to the wall as well, there's probably some mid-screen to corner combos that are possible here, depending on how close you are and what you can link. For forward special, Spear or Arvis no longer has any forward momentum when it's used near the wall. This is intended to make it easier to have follow-ups. A long-time Zeta player would be able to break down some of the nuances better than I can, especially in what combos was this an issue. All of her spears also had another change applied to them. The light and medium versions had a reduction in active frames. The light version only lost 1, going down from 7 to 6. But in addition, the pushback and block was increased, and it now decelerates when it's blocked. As you can see, she's -8 in this situation. Of course, she's able to follow up and escape out of it, but she's far more spaced out at this range. Here's how it used to behave. She's far closer, and also -9 in this instance. Granted, again, you can mitigate this by dashing back. But this will change a couple of the spacing nuances in the matchups that will probably take more time to study closely. The medium versions had a larger reduction in active frames, going down from 12 to 9. The travel distance has also been slightly reduced. Here's the travel range now. In addition to receiving the same changes on block as the other versions did, the ultimate version had its damage reduced. In the new version, it did 2,000 damage. This is what the old damage was. 2,500. That, coupled with the universal system mechanics that have nerfed the scaling of ultimate skills as starters, means that Zeta lost a lot of damage from this starter. The Rise version of her Spear of Arvis, or her down specials, all had similar changes applied across all versions. The launch height on counter hit has been increased on the light, medium, and heavy versions. This is probably to allow for better following up in combos. This is the new launch. In addition to that, the light version had a change in its vertical hitbox. It's been expanded downward, so now Zeta can chain a triple attack into this version against all standing foes. This will be nice to give her some new combo routes to use against the cast. But do keep in mind, it only applies to standing opponents. Against crouching opponents, this still can whiff. Make sure to double check and lab and see what characters you can actually hit with this move against crouchers. One thing that will be hard for me to demonstrate is that the clash level of the light and medium versions have been increased to match that of the heavy version. Probably means so that they won't clash with as many moves as it used to before. The ultimate version of this move also lost 500 damage.
Great.
Again, in the previous patch, it did 2,500. It also had a couple other changes applied. The pushback on block has been reduced, as well as the rebound on block. This probably means so that you're just more closer to the enemy so they can get a better punish on you. This is what it would look like before. Significantly farther away. I think at this range, most opponents are going to get a far medium punish on you. In the new patch, they should be able to get a close medium punish, which means they get full triple attack sequence on you. The ultimate version of Spear Arvis Fall has seen similar changes that the other two versions have as well. It has its damage reduced by 500, the pushback on block has been reduced, the rebound on block has been reduced, but in addition to those as well, the whiff recovery when landing has been increased by 5 frames, and the slowdown effect now ends upon landing if it's active. This is what the situation might look like before. Here it is on whiff. And here's how the situations look like now. Not as close as the other versions before, but still a little noticeable. Like the initial versions as well, the follow-ups have had their pushback on block reduced. You get pretty close to the enemy right here. So I guess the idea here is that if you're able to block Zeta at all doing these moves, you're going to be able to blow her up for it. So this is probably limiting her ability to use these as neutral pokes and streamlining them to be specifically combo tools. This next change is going to be hard to visually demonstrate, so we're just going to discuss it here and not bother with trying to compare the two. Heavy Rhapsody now has input buffering added to it, so you can get the fastest follow-ups possible more easily. On the light and medium version of Rhapsody, Neo Assault, the heavy follow-up to these, had its lateral knockback reduced.
Great.
This is what it looked like before. Considering that you still get all the same links that you used to, I think this is strictly a nerf to her corner carry off of this. Zeta's unique skill, Signal Drive, has seen a couple of changes. On push block, it's pretty much consistent no matter how many hits that you did before. Additionally, the opponent stayed grounded on hit. Here's how it behaves now. The push back on block increases based on the number of hits that you do. Additionally, on hit, the opponent is now put into an airborne state. You're not able to get a combo off of this one. It probably just means it's more rewarding to get a poke on hit with it. Additionally, its advancing speed has been adjusted. This was the old advancing speed. The last change to it is now that you can simply hold down the button to bring out more hits. A nice little quality of life change for people that are allergic to mashing, as it were. Ultimately, I'm unsure what to think about Zeta going forward into this next patch. She has a couple of buffs here and there, but she's really hurt by the system mechanic changes. She relied on a lot of her ultimate skills to get huge starting combos to cash out on big damage. With those having reduced returns, now a lot of her damage is going to have to come from other places and hits from neutral. She does have buffs to her neutral, though, with the medium Infinite Wonders now giving a bit of a knockdown state. She's going to have new combo routes to play with, the changes to the jump U, as well as a couple of other changes to the spears. Everything overall just feels like that her old game plan is a lot more punishable to deal with, and now she's going to have to shift her play style to accommodate not only the new system changes, but now her increased vulnerability from some of the tools that she was relying on before. I would also like to point out that she's still able to set up some fuzzies. I bring this up because even though this is going to be something where she gets less reward for it, she's still going to be able to use this in matches. Check out this little bit of tech from Fred. 3,760 damage from a rising overhead is not too bad. If you're interested in any more Zeta tech, I would recommend this thread on Twitter by Gandito@Miami, which I'll do my best to link in the description below. There's tons of things to learn here regarding her combo routes, fuzzy setups, and everything else about her, including even option selects with the entire cast on how to beat her fuzzy setups. Tons of things to unpack here. Ultimately, I think she's going to play slightly differently than how she used to before, but in a way that might arguably be a little healthier and less reliant on ultimate skills.